All right, so today we're going to look at, like I said, law of cosines. I have the formula up here on the board, and it could be used different ways. So I think looking at y'all's formula sheet, they don't give you any of these. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. But there are different variations of the same formula, just like there's different variations here of this formula. But the different variations, again, show that if I'm solving for side A, alpha is what I'm taking cosine of. And then the other two sides are what you're using. Same thing, side B, I'm going to have cosine of B and the other two sides. Same thing down here. So take a moment and write those down. And I'll put these on the slide here in a second.
Did you say write down the one on the left too?
Do I?
Write down the ones on the left too, to the bottom.
These were from
Yeah.
last class. This is what we'll use later on in class. And you'll also see in your book too that they have where if you were solving for the angle, another more broke down equation. You're more than welcome to use that. But again, like I said, if they're not giving you any of these and it is on the test, just knowing one of them, you can get the others. Okay. All right. So if I was to draw my triangle, alpha is 60 degrees. And let's say we're going to solve for little a. And beta, we don't know, that side is 20 and gamma is 30. Okay. So looking at that, I do not have an angle and its opposite side. Super obvious. Can't do law of sines. Got to do law of cosines. Okay. So if I'm going to solve for a little a, I'm going to plug in everything I know. It really doesn't matter what you put for B or C because, again, adding is commutative, so we won't really run into an issue there. And then you're also multiplying here, which is commutative. You don't have to worry about that. Remember those old words? And then 60 degrees. You can put that entire right side in and then take the square root of your answer, or you can go ahead and type in the square root. That matter. Make sure your calculator is in degree mode. So depending on what I specify, what I want you to round to, all the things, say 26.5, or you could, if you rounded, it would be actually just 26. 5 doesn't round your 4, I like on your grades. So if that gives us A, and then if I asked you, I'm not going to on this one, I'll ask you on the next one. If I asked you then to solve the rest of the triangle, you now have an angle and its opposite side. Okay, So then you could do law of sines and then finish it out just like we did the other day. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Okay. Let's go ahead and solve the whole triangle. So I want all the angles, all the sides. When you have my test, and then I don't know what their test will look like, but I know with my test, I'm not going to say, like, this is the law of sines section, this is the law of cosine section, or use law of sines, or use law of cosines. It's literally just going to say solve, or I'll say solve the whole triangle. Then it's up to you to decide which one to use. Good news is we won't run into the ambiguous case in law of cosines.
What is chapter 9?
It's called conics, circles, parabolas, hyperbolas, ellipses.
What are we doing with them?
Do I?
What are we doing with them?
Graphing them.
No. How about no?
I think y'all like that one. That
I
one,
don't.
it was normally an algebra 2 topic, and they pushed it up to just because there was so
Algebra 2
much
has every
material in
topic.
algebra 2.
There's like 27 modules in algebra 2. So
I know. They're getting ready to take some stuff out. I think not next year, but the next.
they could put some of that stuff in algebra 1. Some of it's
Well, a lot of it is algebra 1.
well, a lot of it is review. Why do they do algebra 1 geometry algebra 2? Why don't they just do like geometry algebra 1 algebra 2?
You still need some of the
Algebra 1 stuff in geometry.
algebra 1 stuff in geometry, and then you need some of the algebra or the geometry stuff in algebra 2. But honestly, I feel like you could learn everything in algebra 1, and I feel like I still reteach it in algebra 2. All that you learned in algebra 1.
Algebra 1 was so easy.
Especially after all these little COVID years. All right.
Okay.
So if we want to solve for little a first, and this one turns out to be pretty. What did it turn out to be? 13. Okay.
Then you want us to find the angles, right?
And then now we can use law of sines to find our angles. And once you find one angle, then you can just do 180. Make it super easy on yourself. That's the hard part about these problems. And I say it's the hard part in general of forgetting which law you're doing. When you start typing things in the calculator, you start writing things down. You start doing cosine when you're supposed to be doing sine, and you do sine when you're supposed to be doing cosine. That's like I said, the biggest mistake a lot of people make. About 28. Our 180 minus our 148 gets us 32.
On like a test, how will you grade those answers? Because like if I wrote 27, 28,
And you know my rule of thumb, if I don't specify, I'm not going to be picky. If I specify, I'll be picky. Which usually means I'm not, because y'all ask that and then you still do the opposite of what the directions say.
Yeah, probably.
Per usual. Okay, so solve the entire triangle, all the angles, all the sides. We're using law of sines still, and then now we use law of cosines. Okay, so what if we had no angles? Right? Side, side, side. So all the sides are there. We're still going to use these formulas up here, but then we're going to have to use the inverse of cosine to solve for our angle. Now, the hardest part on these problems is remembering your order of operations. Okay, so huge letters, whatever you need to do to write it on your notes, that you are always going to start with the largest side. Always, 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 always start with the largest side. Okay, when you have side, side, side. So, oops. I guess I could turn that into an alpha. Nope, can't. So in this particular case, we're going to solve for beta first. Always start with your longest side. And then from there, it doesn't matter how you write out the next part. You just use the other two sides. Best if you use the ABCs and alpha, beta, gammas. So that way when you're solving these, you're not just using X and then you solve for X and we don't know what X is. Okay? So looking at this particular problem, I would highly suggest, I want to say condense, simplify that. And then I would simplify that, but not put them together because remember this is being multiplied to cosine. So it's tempting to want to go ahead and just plug all that in your calculator or simplify all that right there and put it in front of cosine. Right? This is the only thing that's being multiplied to cosine. That's when I said your order of operations, which I can go ahead and make that 81. Your order of operations are super important here. Okay. So 52 minus 24, whoops, 48, forgot my multiply by 2. So then now here, you can see that would have been silly to combine these two because this is being multiplied. But again, it's a common mistake a lot of people make. So we want to get rid of our 52 first. And go ahead and solve for your beta. You can go ahead and solve out the rest of the triangle. Okay, so side, side, side. We have, so I feel like it's in your book too. They have it where everything is divided out and whatnot, and then you end up just having to do the inverse of a fraction, and the formula is broken down a lot easier than this. But like I said, if they don't even give you one of these, and it so happens to pop up on the test, then knowing one of those instead of 6 formulas will help you out. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Let's do one more of those, and then we'll do Heron's formula, and we'll begin. Short lesson. Does anyone know Abigail Wagner? Anybody? They left their really nice drawing here. Does someone want to come and put up one of their angles?
What does these mean? Is this like alpha? Is this
Uh-huh.
beta?
Gamma.
Gamma?
Beta's on the top.
I just use A and B. Fine.
That's fine too. Okay, who's got another one? Did anyone get anything different for gamma? Okay.
Oh God, Jesus. Where's the eraser?
There you go. It's tough to write on. Okay. And who wants alpha? Okay. Anyone get anything different from those three angles? Anyone need me to walk through any of those answers? Okay, awesome. So Heron's formula is another formula. I don't know why that's formula. So let's look over here. So this is Heron's formula right here. And it's so funny because it used to be with the county test that y'all got, they would give you this first part, but they would not put the formula for what S is. So they would be like, you gotta remember this, but we can't tell you all of it. So we'll just tell you part of it. Because you gotta know what S is. S is when you add up both sides and divide by 2. So you've only do it.
Like the board of math or whatever, whoever makes that rule, like they're just unhappy with it.
They're just like, hey, let's mix it up a little bit. But then one year it's on there, and then one year it was not. And 1 year it was on there, and it was like they kept using a different formula sheet. Oh no, that's what it was. It was they gave the S on the honors test, but not on the CP test or something like that. It was like really weird. I think CP is the one that needs it. Okay, so the area formula from the other day, if it was given on the correct day, you're given an angle and 2 sides. Now, if I give you all the sides and no angles, then you can use Heron's formula. Okay. Someone asked the question, well, what if I used law of cosines to find one of the angles? Could I then use this if I forgot this formula? Yeah, nothing's stopping you. Okay. But let's use this formula and solve for the area of this triangle.
Can you put that whole A equation into the calculator?
Absolutely. If you type it in correctly, yeah. So first of all, what does our S equal? So then to find our area, we take the square root of that times subtracted from each side, or the side subtracted from it, if you want to be saying it correctly. And the area of our triangle, again, if it doesn't specify, should be something about 85.3. Okay. So you got your two areas of a triangle formulas here. You got your law of cosines. Of course, you know law of sines already. All right. Any questions?